I'll talk about sort of construction and then other kind of land and development partners. So in construction in particular, obviously another major challenge is simply the capacity of the construction industry, how sustainable the existing skills base is to meet the demand of construction activity that we want to be seeing. So, and then there's an additional challenge as well, just around public procurement rules, the hoops that need to be jumped through, necessary hoops, albeit, to ensure that you have proper competitive tender for construction projects. But all of that means very slow construction delivery. Price of construction is going up and up, particularly with Brexit looming and some of the pressures on the workforce that come about through that. So one of the key partnerships that we're hoping to develop is in relation to creating a construction vehicle that can improve the speed, quality and price of construction, particularly for our council homes schemes, and with it also create the kind of apprenticeships and jobs for local people that we want to be prioritising. And so builders who are aligned with that mission, who don't need to be dragged kicking and screaming or have lawyers poring over a charter that commits them to doing apprenticeships and jobs, and who find it complicated to be embedded in a development operation where you can be on site, hopefully weeks or even days after your planning permission is secured, rather than many, many months. That's the kind of construction partner that we would be hoping to tease out and work more closely with, because I think we talk about housing emergency, housing crisis. That means we need to build these homes as quickly as is possible. That doesn't mean compromising quality or making these homes any less durable or manageable over the long term, but it does mean setting ourselves up in terms of the delivery operation in such a way where we have maximum integration of the construction supply chain, the delivery operation and the development operation. So that's how I describe it on the construction front. And in terms of everyone else, I mean, we have a whole range of really strong partnerships. We found that we've been able to create those partnerships mainly just by being really clear and honest with each other at the beginning of the conversation about what our objectives are, so that it becomes a lot more straightforward to identify the shared priorities and focus all the partnership work on that. We've certainly been able to do that with TfL, not always investing in the ways we'd like in Southwark, albeit with the government playing politics with their budgets. But we had a fantastic partnership with them at Southwark Tube and the Searles House estate just next door, where we've been able to work really closely to have a strong community-led council homes development on enabled by a land swap between TfL and the council. There's a similarly strong partnership with British Land, who have a large master plan regeneration area in Canada Water, which we have a significant stake in. And we've also been able to create really strong partnerships with local TMO, Leather Market JMB, who formed a community benefit society, a kind of development arm, and are subsequently able to use a lot of their reach into the community to build buy-in for council home schemes in that part of Bermondsey. Beyond that, faith groups, we've got really strong partnerships as well. They'll always have a different starting point, every church and mosque we've spoken to, about what they're wanting to achieve, but fundamentally there's that shared moral mission to create strong communities to meet the needs of their congregation, and with it use assets, use the and our offer as a development one-stop shop to bring forward council home partnership schemes. We've got 4 of them already set up now, and potentially another dozen or so that we're in negotiation with. And then there are more speculative partnerships, again, where the starting point of the organisation might be very different to Southwark Council's. Our New Homes programme has an explicit mission to maximise the proportion of social and affordable homes as far as the programme viability will allow. Even within that, we've been able to get really great conversations going with the likes of the Dulwich estate, very big landowner with hundreds of years of scheme of management responsibilities in a leafy part of the city, very different objectives to us, but we've had meaningful conversations with them about bringing opportunities forward, and the likes of the Port of London Authority, who We've also got a great conversation going around opportunities to democratise access to and use of our bit of the river, and particularly the upper and lower pool. So partnerships are absolutely central, but the door is very wide open for Southwark, both in terms of unlocking land, sharing delivery capacity, and also in looking at how we can bring more resources into the programme. And we've set out some very clear criteria for how private finance might support council house building in our Routes to 11,000 cabinet report that was published last April. That describes a fixed rate housing standard. These are essentially the terms by which we would want private finance to be comparable to public borrowing, providing additionality beyond the existing resources that we've got access to at the minute.
Fascinating stuff. I'd like to just tease out a couple of details on some of that. You mentioned Canada Water and the council's stake in that. Could you elaborate a bit on what the council's stake is in Canada Water, and whether or not that's the sort of the shape of things to come? Is that something you'd like to be doing more of?
The main two stake, I mean, it's the creation of a new town centre in the heart of our borough. Between 2,000 and 3,000 homes, up to 20,000 jobs. So it's quite a significant transformation of a large underutilised site in the borough. At present, we own roughly 20% of the land, so it's mainly the printworks where the Daily Mail used to churn out their content. And we've also got a council home scheme, a new leisure centre, retail, educational development as part of the master plan as well. And the council home scheme in particular will be in the first phase, 79 homes, beautiful designs by Doug and Morris. So there are lots of shared stakes there, and obviously we have options as part of our master agreement with them to invest in particular phases depending on what financial pressures and priorities we have at each stage.
Thanks very much. And you also talked about the work with contractors, but forgive me if I missed it, but I don't think you mentioned zero carbon. Any kind of targets on that front? Is the climate crisis front of mind, and how does that filter through your partnerships with contractors and developers?
Absolutely. So we've got in our new homes design guide 3 areas where we want to make sure that our approach to tackling the housing crisis is not cutting across our approach to tackling the climate crisis, and vice versa, because it's actually quite easy to just say don't develop anything at all. There's carbon trail on everything that's on all construction supply chains. So we have a big approach on the operational energy of the new buildings that we build, where we require all new schemes to have the top 2 A or B APC ratings, and also incorporating all kinds of renewables, if it's heat store, solar, air and ground source heat pump technologies, plugging into big infrastructural projects that we have that are producing clean energy, like developer for our council homes, but there are kind of frustrating limits, and I think a number of building regs issues that need to be unpicked before you can really roll that out at the kind of scale that we want. We've also, alongside that, been promoting and this is again as part of the conversation with contractors, is that we're trying to bring forward low impact, low waste forms of development. So I've mentioned potential residential interventions, which will be very much dictated by the nature of the conversations with the PLA on the river. But we've also got one of the largest rooftop housing programs anywhere in the world. I was told it was the 2nd largest in the world the other day. And we've created some special development principles to support that, to maximise the benefits and minimise the impacts to residents. So, building off-site or on-site for the briefest period of time, first dibs for residents who live immediately underneath, they're returning a home in lettable condition, and also making sure that any new development is accompanied with improvements to the existing block, thermal efficiencies, and any new roof lift or landscaping non-rechargeable to leaseholders. And the reason for this, the reason why we have such a big focus on rooftop development is because it is a way of bringing forward new housing while preserving the embodied energy and embodied carbon of existing buildings, prolonging the life cycle of existing buildings, improving the energy efficiency of the host homes as well, and also minimising the pressure on other land, because there's pressure on all land at the minute when you've got such huge housing waiting lists and such tremendous demand for housing more generally. So that's the second piece. And then the third piece is simply, we talk about a climate crisis, and it's an ecological crisis first and foremost for humans and other wildlife. And I think often we need to have a stronger focus on what's right under our nose. So with all schemes, we accompany it with a nature recovery plan, which comes with a significant increase in tree canopy coverage, particularly where we're having to remove trees for to allow for the development plot, and also all kinds of habitat development and biodiversity opportunities that we can bring forward. If it's insect houses, bird boxes, bat boxes, we'll do it. So it's quite a kind of multifaceted approach to being a green builder. And of course, the type of contractor that we want to be working with is one that is fully aligned with that and can open up those different pressure points.
Great stuff. Lots of exciting opportunities there for people to get stuck into. There was one other aspect of partnerships I wanted to ask you about. In all of that response, you didn't mention working with other local authorities. Is there a role for collaboration between local authorities, between public sector, house builders, or organisations seeking more homes? What kind of part can your fellows play?
We talk to other local authorities all the time, particularly the ones who've built up a good development operation and have quite a large pipeline of work, mainly to share expertise, share learning around how to unlock the types of opportunities that we're working on. Certainly with the construction company, we've been talking to some boroughs about sharing that initiative with them. I'm not going to boroughs who have more land than we do, who are finding it difficult to fit the amount of affordable housing that the mayor would like on their public sector land, to see if there are opportunities to partner with them there as well and get some mutual benefits. So we talked to on the latter bit, not great so far, but we'll keep going. We're always trying to work out new ways of beginning the conversation, because we feel quite emboldened at the kind of partnerships we've already been able to set up, often with people you wouldn't think we'd be talking to build council housing. So we'll talk to anyone and find the space where we have an aligned mission.
Thank you very much, Councillor, for answering our questions today. Viewers, if you'd like to see more of this interview, it's posted in 7 parts over 7 days at thevoiceofauthority.co.uk. The Voice of Authority presents the ambitions, the challenges, the values, the drivers, the motivations and the influences of key people at councils in their own words. This is where you find out what matters most to top people at the councils you want to do business with. The Voice of Authority is one of the channels created by 3Fox, the marketing agency for councils, to keep our network of councils, developers, investors and their advisors and influencers connected. Find out more about our channels and opportunities to participate in webinars, in interviews and other campaigns at www.3fox.co.uk.